So here's a premise. The premise is that when you enter third world countries, you're entering very economically deprived areas, and in any economically deprived area, you're going to find human rights abuses that are just beyond belief, that just tear at the soul, that bring an incredible emotional response from within, and that break your heart. And those human rights abuses are par for the course in any poor society. It's part of the structure of incredibly poor societies, where people use other people for financial gain, and oftentimes it shows up in the most horrendous of ways. If you go to Cambodia, you'll find that parents don't really parent their children. The children are out on the street, they're out and about, they're playing, and they're also susceptible to predators, to pedophiles. Parents in Cambodia realize the value of their child. They know how cute they are, they know how adorable they are, and they know how much money they can get for those children if those children are sold into the sex slave trade. And that's exactly one of the things that happens in Cambodia. The parents, when they don't have enough money to make ends meet, will sell their child into the sex slave trade for a few months at a time or a year at a time, if not longer. And the money will be sent to them so that they can sustain some type of lifestyle while their child is going through all the traumas of having random people paying money to have sex with them when they are simply innocent children. Terrible. Now, those human rights abuses that I just mentioned show up in other forms in other countries. If you go down to, say, Peru, you'll go to a square where there are lots of tourists, and in the square you'll find lots of cute little children running up to you, begging, trying to get money from you. And they're adorable, they're almost irresistible because they're so young, they're so innocent, they're so sweet, and they also have a good story about how they need money. And if you haven't traveled that much, it can really pull at your heartstrings, and you may feel very sympathetic towards them and think, what will it hurt if I just give them a few dollars? What you don't know is that their parents are just waiting in the corners of that courtyard, watching it all happen and allowing their child to essentially do the work to get money for the family. They are essentially an unpaid employee or a child slave. If you go to where there are Roma people, the Roma are excellent at sympathy stories. They're excellent at begging. They're so good at stories, and they're so good at eliciting empathy from people that they've systematically approached the art of begging. They've created an art of it. And what they've done is they've used children to elicit sympathy from naive people, to give them money. And a lot of times those children aren't even their own. They simply are dropped off with an adult, and they play the part of child to mom or child to dad. And it's through that presentation of that relationship that people give them money. But it doesn't end there. In some cases, these Roma people will deliberately mutilate their child, break a limb, hurt them in some way where they're deformed. And that deformity is what brings money into the system, because people on the street see this deformed child and their heart breaks and they give them money. But the dark side is that in some cases those deformities were intentional. They were created by their parents or by other adults who saw this child as an opportunity to gain money. So it's the real dark side of society in these third world countries, where these people just do these horrendous things to other people, including children. And when that behavior is brought to Western countries, people become very upset because it's just so beyond belief.